shall we move on to now to Ubisoft?
Ubisoft. Speaking of Ubisoft,
as we were,
Aisha Tyler.
Yes.
That woman is amazing, and
she
I love her.
She already gets my Jamie's ding 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 for Ubisoft. Everything about her, the stuff she was, either scripted or ad-libbing, just her general enthusiasm and passion for gaming mixed with a very, very wicked and self-knowing, deprecating sense of humor, just undercut any awkwardness or...
Yeah, she definitely helped a lot, especially like after the Just Dance shenanigans again.
Yeah.
She managed to just keep things moving forward quickly after that.
I took my two highlights that I remember very specifically. To the asshole who leaks this on Reddit, you know what you can suck a bag of.
Yes.
And just when she said, "I love you" to LeVar Burton.
Yeah.
And speaking of LeVar Burton,
she showed them amazing.
That to me was something that I've got in my honorable mentions because it's VR. I've just put anything VR in an honorable mention for me. But that Star Trek VR, I'm not into Star Trek. I'm excited about that idea of having a 4-player game where you're in the same room, you're talking to each other, and you're on the bridge of the fucking Enterprise.
Yeah, I did like the look and sound of that, although at the moment I'm still not sure how much of that was the game and how much of it was LeVar Burton. Because he's great and he could
He was so fucking excited.
I'll give it...
It seems super interesting for sure.
Color me interested.
I don't know if do you guys just want to say what stuff jumped out at you from this? I'll go through the list if you like. We had Just Dance, Ghost Recon Wildlands, South Park: The Fractured But Whole, The Division Underground and Survival DLC, Eagle Flight, which I thought was a nice demo as well.
That looks really cool. I'm into Eagle Flight.
Makes me want to be a bird in Paris.
Maybe one day you will be.
Yay!
For Honor, Trials of the Blood Dragon, Grow Up, the sequel to Grow Home, Watch Dogs 2, and Steep. I want to say off the bat, I thought there was a really nice range of things in Ubisoft.
Yeah, like talking about how EA is all sci-fi shooters and sport. It's really difficult to nail something to Ubisoft because there's dance games, there's shooters, there's RPGs, there's VR, there's indie side scrollers, there's a bit of sports, there's open worlds. It's quite literally everything.
Yeah.
Whether they do all of them to the same standard is another thing, but they're trying.
Yeah.
My one that I really took away from that was, like, last year I'd written down, I still have in my list from things that games that I want. I had written down For Honor instantly with the gameplay trailer from last year. And this year it cemented it like even more.
It looks very cool, and that guy who introduced it both years with the cane
with
and
the beard and the walking stick.
That dude is
the warlock.
So metal. Yeah, when he comes on stage, he is running through his pre-scripted D&D campaign in his head. He's dungeon mastering the entire audience into his game.
I would D&D with it then during that.
He comes off and just goes, natural 20.
Yeah. That game looks very cool, and the combat looks real solid.
Sorry, you go, Jamie.
I was only going to say, and this is not to dampen the party. I was very excited for For Honor before. Definitely then more excited when I saw the different classes in terms of medieval and Viking, going back to that whole fantasy RPG thing.
Yeah.
The only thing that started to slightly worry me when I saw the Viking gameplay was, is it a little bit like Rise?
Yeah, I'm getting a bit of a Rise vibe.
Minus quick
as
time
well.
events. And that, it just ever so slightly worried me, because Rise, in terms of gladiatorial fighting in Roman Legion, as a setting and the combat could be very good, and the way they did that game just made it really, really boring and repetitive. And I'm really hoping the combat is so down to a T with this that you really buy into all those different styles.
Yeah, I think the amount of variety they create for you will make the biggest difference for this game. Because you don't want it to literally just be the same scenario over and over again. Good as the combat looks, I don't know if it's strong enough to make you want to do 20 hours of that all the same. And there seems to be some kind of overarching narrative thing going on, which I don't know if I was really expecting.
I was really into the trailer, like the whole the bit with the samurai like drawing the line in the sand and they start fighting, and it's cool. It's got a lore to it. It's got its own kind of backstory that
a world where all three of these very distinct periods of time and races and fighting styles exist is very, very cool. And I'd love to see more of the medieval person involved as well, now that we've seen the samurai and the Vikings.
Yeah.
And wasn't that's fairly early next year, isn't it? Or
that sounds right, but I can't remember.
I've lost track quite a little bit of what's actually
I missed
end of this year, early next year, or this thing's available now. The second you leave this booth.
Remember, I think that might be the one that was available Valentine's Day, because I remember I used to have a joke about it.
Sure, why not?
But it's cool.
Yeah, good eyes on that game. Interested to see how that turns out. Couple of other things. It's really just the last three things on this list that I have stuff to talk about, really, which is Grow Up, which looks nice. Grow Home looks really good. It looks pretty much the same as the first game to me. I can't tell the difference, but that seems good anyway. So that's nice.
I felt like that the guy that presented it kind of made, like, I could have got excited if it was presented well, but he was so nervous and kind of talked into his words, and he made me go, you know what, I don't want to play this game just because of you. It was poor. It's unfortunate, because what I played of Bro Home was fun. I've never finished it. I kind of
never played it. This is all new world to me, so it's on my radar.
It was fun indie platformy. The controls annoyed me a little bit, but it might have just been that they get better as you get through the game, as you learn more things.
Watch Dogs 2. I don't know how if you guys care at all about this. I was never really into Watch Dogs, and I didn't buy it. I got put off by all the reviews and such. But I was never super into it anyway. This is seeming more positive to me. I like the setting. I think San Francisco is a great setting for that game. And it looks more colourful and bright, and just as a whole, the game seems to be having a bit more fun with itself. It stands a decent chance of being the Assassin's Creed 2 of Watch Dogs, as far as I can tell.
I was interested.
The idea that they had an interesting concept in the first one, but didn't nearly pull it off as well as they were hoping for. It didn't quite come to fruition. That had a whole bunch of things with delays and a lot of hype around it anyway. It was definitely one of my favorite, if not the favorite, scripted gameplay sessions when they clearly had someone doing it, playing, knowing what to do. But compared to like some of the Ghost Recon ones or whatever, I felt those could have been computer based, but this I felt was very well paced, showed an interesting range of stuff.
The Ghost Recon thing, just going back to that whole like scripted play session thing, I feel like that thing has come full circle for me. Like it's so far past the point where I'm going like, do they really think that this is what people sound like when they're playing games? That like Ghost Recon particularly sounded like the people were directed to speak sort of in as the characters would.
Yeah.
And in that respect, I actually kind of liked that. Because, yeah, obviously nobody talks like that when they're playing the game. But if you think of it more as being like a sort of almost like a simulation of narrative.
Yeah.
As it's totally a simulated, like fabricated experience. But you miss a lot when you're just watching a video of somebody playing stuff. You miss a lot of the stuff that's going on in your head, and if that is supposed to sort of illustrate what that is intended to be and fill in the gaps, I'm okay with that, I think.
Well,
yeah, I didn't hate it.
It's like we said
sorry,
earlier.
I can't see your hand.
That's fine. I was just going to pick up on the point we said earlier about the Star Trek thing. The fact that it was sold in as scripted as their VR experience was, the organic idea of LeVar Burton being your captain when shit's hitting the fan and like you're panicking but working together kind of thing. That style, but obviously in the non-VR sense with the Ghost Recon, where people get into their roles and everything makes it. You can imagine yourself playing it, which I think is the hardest thing to do when you're watching certain things from a third-party perspective or whatever.
Yeah.
Although I will say, this is something we'll talk about a lot later. But in the Microsoft one, the Sea of Thieves video, which was literally, it did just seem to be a pre-recorded play session of a bunch of people actually playing together and talking, like actually having a conversation and showing highlights of that rather than like a full scripted thing.
Yes.
Or an actual live gameplay demo where people are sort of actually playing the game on stage, which, to be honest, you don't need to prove to me.
We will talk about that later.
But yeah, I thought Sea of Thieves did that well. Anyway, just while we're on that subject. Anyway, one last thing for Ubisoft for me was Steep.
Yes.
That seems cool. That seems really fun and chilled, and I really liked the ethos of that game, the playing with your friends stuff.
Yeah, I'm totally down with just hanging out on a mountain
and
being like, dude, I did this totally rad trick the other day because I'm all about rad tricks. And
90s speak.
And then your friend goes, yeah, I saw that you did that. I'm going to do that later. It looks gnarly. And then you do that again.
And then you shred some snow.
Fat slopes. Fat with a PH. Yeah, I liked them. And they seemed, well, they were very French about it. And
of course they were.
They're just like,
being in their neck of the woods.
So now we're
quite literally.
We can just slide down here and look, we see our friends, so we go to the drop zone. I loved it. Like, that was really just fun.
He couldn't say drop zone. I think that was drop zone. There was a word which he couldn't say when he had to say it together. But if he had to say the word drop, he'd go drop. And if he said drop zone, he'd go droop zone. Like he definitely did some weird pronunciation, but like a split second before had said one of the words on its own fine. And I thought it was really fine. So we're gonna drop off in the droop zone. It just made me really laugh. Not to take away from the game.
Game looks
visually very, very beautiful. I think they're almost missing a trick. I would kill to do that first person in VR.
Yeah, at the
I
beginning
think
I
when they
wasn't sure
switched
if
to
that was going
first
to be an
person,
option. Yeah, could be. I could totally see that becoming an option.
That's
It
the kind of
depends how
thing though
big
that
the. Sorry, I was just going to say it depends how big the studio working on that is because I didn't get much of an impression how big a deal that game is.
it was last.
it
That's
it
Yeah.
feels like it's the kind of game that they might be like they're gonna gauge it. Like if they get a good amount of reception for this game, then they could almost kind of reskin it in VR. Like they can
Yeah.
then work on it for a second one
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
or an
They're doing a
upgrade.
lot of alphas and betas for these things, aren't they? Which I thought was quite interesting. Like, it's clearly got a release date, but still, come and join these versions of it and give us feedback on stuff because
Yeah.
we still want to improve our user experience and obviously, particularly, test out all the online functions and any server issues and whatnot that they're going to have when it actually launches. So.
Yeah, I'm all for people getting beta testing because one, it'll drive up hype for a game if it's good, and two, you're right. It just kind of it makes sure that everything's kosher.
Overwatch being the classic example recently that people could get enough of the testing thing, just be like, for fuck's sake, just release this now. We want to play more of it.
I suppose you do get sort of backfiring situations as well, though. I think with stuff like two examples of this jump to mind, and that's the Division
David, did
and
you fall asleep?
what's going on?
Hunk.
Did your lamp fall
My
over?
light turns itself off after. No, it's one of those Lumi things. It turns itself off after an hour. Look at it glow.
I see.
I'm back. Yes, I fell
yeah.
asleep for 2 seconds. I'm sorry.
What was I saying? Oh yeah. The problem with them, it's not really a problem, but the thing with some base testing situations is with what happened with the Division and with what is it called, Destiny, where people got super into it in the beta and then came to play the actual game and was like, oh, there's not as much more to this as I expected or hoped for. And then people fall off.
Yeah.
So that can be a bit of an issue, but I hope that this is just a thing because it's the early days of that kind of thing happening, and people are slightly underestimating how much content people need in a first release of those kinds of games. Anyway, this is all tangential.
Cool.
I think I'm done with EA. Other than just saying Eagle VR looks, I want to play it. I want to play it with us. Like I don't know if I want to own it, but I want to sit down at some point and play it.
It started the thought in my head, and this hasn't really developed too much from the C3, but we're being shown a lot of cool VR stuff. There's a very, very fine line between what is a tech demo and what is a game. Yeah. And I'm struggling with a lot of these things, even the big name franchise ones, when they're chucking on, and we'll get into this in Sony, certain brands to VR games, how much substance there's going to be. Yeah. And when are you going to get your full, for sake of discussion, Skyrim equivalent game where you're immersed in that kind of world, but with, maybe not that insane amount of detail, maybe not open world, but a full value 40, 50 quid game worth of content.
I think the difficulty is that people are still working out what genres work with VR, and they're having to create new genres for it, because not everything that works in traditional games suits.
Oh god, no.
There's like you heard about a lot of like horror things being a lot of the things people went to first off, but for most people that stuff is way too intense in VR because you can't even cover your face to get away from it. You just are stuck with this shit right in your face, and you have to deal with it. And for most people, that's too much.
Well, they're saying, but people could get PTSD from war games when
too.
you've got bullets flying all around you. You are in it. It doesn't matter if it's a simulation. If you're like involved, if you feel immersed, then you're being actually shot at. The only thing that's not happening is pain. And
just loads of general things about how like most video games tend to be very action focused, and it's very difficult to communicate that stuff in VR because it can be super stressful, super confusing, and you're going to have motion sickness issues a lot of the time if you're moving too fast. So I hope that people are gonna go more down the route of like
Firewatch.
Yeah,
Firewatch VR. Come on, people, make it happen.
The sort of quote unquote walking simulator type games. Immersing yourself in being in a place. I think Minecraft makes sense because Minecraft is a thing, especially for Minecraft, because you can be in a place that you've built, and you can continue to build this place, and I think that's sort of fulfilling the dream of that game.
Yeah.
Speaking of Minecraft, I need to go to the toilet, and then we'll talk about Microsoft. I'm back.
Right.
And I have glasses now because
nerd.
Hay fever.
Nerd.
But, well, we are talking about nerd stuff, so nerd.
I had a go at my mum yesterday
for a system.
I had a go at my mum yesterday because she was saying, "I guess you're such a geek for watching this computer game conference." And I went, "No, it's really cool." And I explained to her why something was cool. And then she went, "I guess I just don't have a Y chromosome." I went, "No, Mum, ladies like games too." And then I explained to her why she was wrong in that way. I went, and then she kind of went, "Oh, okay."
Basically,
mum, king of the jocks, coming and beating you up.
Why couldn't my son play sports like me?
James, have you got any washing needs doing or anything? No, I don't think so. Why? Oh, just because your pants are gonna need replacing. And she wedgies you.
That's not where I thought that was going at all.
She's calling people nerd. Wake up, nerd! Gotta go to school.
I really want to see your mum wedgie you now. That would be really funny.
She just walks into the room with you and your dad having dinner. And she goes to your dad, like, "Hey, buddy, check out the nerd over there."
You just sit down for dinner and your mum and dad are just like flicking peas at you.
No. They're sat on the cool table. Girls not allowed on the cool table.